Hi, this is video number 342. It is a cold, windy day today. I was out earlier this morning doing my Sudoku puzzle. Had my coffee out there, a few other things. It was just cold. It's very windy. Windy day today. Chilly. I got one puzzle done. My coffee got cold. Came in and got some more coffee, some hot coffee. Went back out, tried to do a second Sudoku, but my brain must have been frozen because I was messing it up, so I stopped that. I did the lesson for tomorrow for the small group. It's on creation. It's going to be good. I love talking about this kind of stuff. It starts out with a little discussion, a few sentences on the Scopes monkey trial from back in the day, and then and talks about some other things, creation, this and that, and how not to get wrapped around the axle about arguing about creation versus evolution and all that. There's a whole lot more stuff that's more important than arguing about those things. So it's going to be a good discussion. A lot of times I get off on rabbit trails that kind of lead to creation and different kinds of things about the creator and how things happen and so forth. So it'll be a good one. I'm not sure what the lessons are after this one, but I hope they stay along the same lines because I like talking about that kind of stuff. Probably because I'm a scientist, or I was. Went to the restaurant last evening for dinner. We didn't have Eli bus duty, so we just kind of went to the restaurant from here. It was Giotti's, an Italian restaurant. My wife had a Caesar salad, and I had a Tuscan salad, which had mushrooms on it and chicken, and it was really, really good. But our waitress she was a different kind of person. She was maybe mid-late 20s, somewhere around there. We're talking and stuff, and I noticed she was left-handed. I said, "You must be smart because you're left-handed." And she said, "You know, I'm surprised that you noticed that." And I said, "Well, I'm left-handed too. That's why I noticed." I was just joking around. And then we talked about, like, she asked me if I was artistic and this and that. We talked about music and different things. And her favorite music is Motown. That's awesome. That's unbelievable because and her favorite Motown group was the Temptations. That was mine too. They were so smooth. And then she started talking about the movie, The Temptations, and that. So I haven't seen that, but I'm going to go probably get it and take a look at it. Told her that we were at the Motown play when it was in Hershey I think it was last month or the month before, and that was pretty cool. So she was a character. I could tell she was a character. She liked to talk for a waitress. They weren't very busy, so she hung around with us a good bit. Okay, this morning, a couple weeks ago, we got the what was it called, the definitive works of Glen Campbell, his songs and stuff. So my wife's been upstairs baking this morning. She's baking some muffins and that, and her favorite song is Wichita Lineman, and so she listened to that a few times. It made her all teary-eyed and stuff, thinking back in the day when her life was really good. She was young, really young when that was popular, and she's getting all teary-eyed and her voice was cracking and stuff, and I think back on that, and things were not good for me back in the day. I'm older than she is, and I was like an older teenager, and life was pretty volatile then and not so good. But I have found that, like, I can't dwell on the past too much, even the good stuff, because all of those people, like most of them are gone. A lot of those people are gone, and you think of the good times you had, and like they're not going to happen anymore. But that's why when I came out of withdrawal, I think I'm always looking for the next good thing, because there's eternally going to be good things. I just know it, and that's kind of how I try to think of life. And sometimes I will allow myself to think back on people that I knew in the good times and this and that. One of them I think about a lot is my homeless friend Gary, who passed a couple years ago. He was just so much fun. We just clicked so well, and I try to think, like, okay, we had good times back in the day, but he's going to be there meeting me when I get up there, and we're going to get to share some stuff again. I'm sure he's going to be there. I just have this feeling. See what else I looked at. As I said in yesterday's video, I wanted to start writing my final work on this whole benzo withdrawal thing and what's going on there, and what the brain is actually doing. So I had downloaded a bunch of stuff a few weeks ago, a lot of technical stuff that contained certain things I wanted to include in what I'm going to write, but I didn't actually just take that out of what it is I printed out, or that I copied and pasted. So I had to go through it and read it all again. It was like dozens of pages of technical stuff. So what I did was I highlighted the stuff that I kind of want to use maybe, and then I deleted all of the other stuff. But that took me a couple hours, so my brain's kind of dead right now. I'm brain dead, so I probably will pass on that the rest of the day, unless I still have 2.5 hours till the Penn State game. They're playing Indiana today, so I'll either watch another game, or I will, if I get bored enough, I'll get that out and start thinking about it some more. I don't know, but right now I'm kind of bloated and brain dead, and I'll just kind of let that pass, I think, until tomorrow. Okay, and there's a lot of NCAA football games on today. I'll probably watch. I don't like to spend the whole day doing it. It gets really boring by the end of the day. I can usually watch one or two maybe, with something else to do while I'm watching the games. But after one, I'm pretty, and I don't want to get all bored before the Penn State game. So, okay, dinner tonight, we're having spaghetti. My wife makes this spaghetti. It's the recipe that her grandmother got from her mother got from someone a long time ago. It's really excellent spaghetti, nice and spicy, lots of meat in it, and very, very tomatoey, very, very good spaghetti. So I didn't get any emails to talk about. I did get a Facebook message this morning that I want to talk about some, and I did Skype with that young lady again last night a while. I'll talk about that as I talk about this message. Okay, let me see what time I have here. 6. Okay, Facebook message. Okay, yesterday I had asked about the cracking joints, if anybody had that, to let me know. So this starts out in that way. It says, I have the cracking too. It's not so much joints, just general cracking that I don't know where it's coming from. Sometimes it feels like it's just coming from the bones. Everything is so tight in the body and pulling, so it could be anything, I guess. Tendons, ligaments. It doesn't hurt, and often feel like relief, or if something gives, like something is giving, I guess. Like maybe pressure that's giving or something. It kind of has a sensation of relief to it. Okay. And then there was a second part. Well, I'll talk about that first. Okay, what that is this young lady that I've been Skyping with. She looked it up. It's called crepitus. Actually, it has something to do with, I think, gas bubbles or something in your joints and being compressed, and when it's compressed, it makes this noise and it sounds like cracking. Last night I had messaged with her some more. She was pretty much over withdrawal. She was real close to really being well. She had a ways to go yet. Then she got pregnant, wanted another baby. I sort of tried to, not that I don't like people to have babies, but I was thinking, like, I don't know, it could be a risk. So anyway, she had the baby. She had a hard pregnancy. She had a hard delivery. A lot of different drugs and stuff. She had like the surgery for her back. She got some sort of herniated disc in her lumbar region. She had to have back surgery. She would tell me different things they were giving her. One for like pain was prednisone, which can cause issues when you're in withdrawal, and a bunch of other things too. No telling. She said, I messaged with her earlier this morning, and she said it's hard to tell what all they gave her, maybe even a benzo. She told them she said Valium, but they probably, like during surgery, they tend to give you midazolam, which is Versed. So I suspect she probably got some of that, like propofol probably, and other kinds of drugs, as she had this pain after her back surgery too. So there's that, and then there's just the stress of her pregnancy. It was a bad one. I messaged with her sometimes during her pregnancy, and then the back surgery, and that she had a lot of like lower back pain, and then like pain down her legs after the surgery, and this and that, and weakness in one of her legs before the surgery and after for a while. I think she's over that now, but she's freaking out over, she's got all this twitching and like the burning and the tingling feelings, and she's got, for some reason, the joint cracking really, really had her upset. So last night we were messaging back and forth, and I said, I asked people, the people who listen to my videos, and also I went on one of the Facebook groups. Didn't really get any responses there so much. So last night and this morning I decided I'm going to go on Benzo Buddies and check it out. Like, and there were quite a few people. There was a lot of discussion about joint cracking, popping of joints, clicking, a good bit. One person said it's like popcorn popping whenever they move. Like the joints in their body make all kinds of noise. So I got back to her this morning and told her about that. That actually it's not the most common symptom, obviously, but it's a relatively common symptom among some people. So she seems sort of relieved because she's thinking she has all of these different diseases, and I don't know what kind of disease causes your bones to pop like that. But she seems somewhat relieved, but then angry that withdrawal is still dogging her, and she's having like the depression and that. But her depression when she was after she had postpartum depression with her first child. They drugged her, of course, and gave her antidepressants. It didn't work, made her much worse for about a year or so, year and a half. Benzos, they put her on something which didn't help much. She got off of that, went through withdrawal. And she had this really, really bad depression where she could not feel love for her baby for a long time. It took a couple years or so until, well, I didn't know her until her child was like maybe 2 years. He's 2 months behind Eli. Okay, so he's going to be 7 here soon. So she had a really black, horrible depression that we would talk about a lot back a number of years ago now. But I asked her last night, like, do you feel love for your children? She said, yes, thank God I do. And that's, to me, that's a key question there. And she's not back in the really super black stuff, so that's good. I think she's more afraid of what this is. And believe it or not, she had some relief knowing like this is probably still benzo withdrawal. The only thing that kept her from being convinced was these joint cracking, the joint, the popping of the joints. I think she has some level of relief now because she thinks she probably knows, yeah, benzo withdrawal. She said, yes, I was given a lot of different kinds of drugs through her, like from the surgery and then from her pregnancy too. So she's not nearly as bad as she was way back in her actual withdrawal. So I think she's going to be okay, but it's tough to keep an eye on her, keep her going here until the withdrawal gives up and she's good to go again. Okay, now to continue with this email, I sort of got off on a rabbit trail there a little bit. Okay, got 12 minutes, 13 minutes. Okay, can I ask this, please? I slept last night, even fell back asleep after going to the bathroom. It was a really heavy sleep with dreams about my mental health, quite distressing. I found it hard to wake up. If I have a night like that, the derealization and strangely fatigue are worse. It's hard to function. I just made a meatloaf. I was inspired by you talking about it, and I've never had it. Wow, I've never had a meatloaf. The meatloaf was good. It felt like it would kill me making it, and again the derealization just got worse. I had a sort of lift after 8 o'clock last night and was looking forward to making the meatloaf than this. I had to force myself to do it. It's ridiculous. I love cooking normally. It feels very neurological and lots of buzzing in my brain and very blurred vision, numb face. The list goes on. Does any of this make sense, especially being so far off? I'm afraid I may have a neurological disease like MS. I worry about that from time to time. I wonder if people who have neurological symptoms like this and the head pressure too don't recover or take years and years. I wish I could believe. Okay, I wish I could believe. That was the end of the message. Some things to say here. She had a good sleep last night. I have heard that many times. When I was in withdrawal, it was true. Even right now, it's true for me. When I still wake up a lot at night. I always have, even before benzos. Maybe it's the alcohol, maybe it's just the way I am. But since I've gotten well, I know if I have a really deep sleep for some reason during the night and I wake up in the morning when I'm ready to get out of bed, which if I have a deep sleep, I'm almost never ready to get out of bed. I can feel like the physical, that heaviness, that kind of like an achy in my body, in my joints, my muscles. I can feel that. It's almost always after I have had like a really, really part of the night I had a really super deep sleep. It happens, and I've read that from many people. A lot of people have asked me about that. And chemically, I think when you're sleeping, certain things are going on. I think a lot of the chemical activity, the different sort of hormones, and maybe not the neuroreceptors, the what are they called? Like the glutamate and those kinds of things, the transmitters, the neurotransmitters. Sometimes words, I don't know. I've always been that way. Anyway, sometimes I think they're at a low ebb, and when you wake up, just the being conscious again, I think there probably are releases of various kinds of chemicals in your body, and it creates like this. It's like a rush of chemicals, and it creates different kinds of symptoms in us. Like when we become conscious again, there clearly is some biochemical thing going on there. Even for people that aren't in withdrawal, when you wake up, there's kind of like for most people I think some sort of a just becoming conscious. Like, I mean, obviously there's something biochemical that has to happen for you to become conscious again. Something's going on there, and I think in a withdrawal there is a biochemical, I don't know if I would call it a rush, but there are chemicals coming into your bloodstream again that have an effect on you. And since your neurological system, your nervous system is sensitive, it's going to cause symptoms. Very common. And when I would wake up when I was in withdrawal, it was always not immediate. It was like within a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, I'd be okay, and then I could just feel symptoms returning to me, mostly the fear and anxiety, and then after that the depression, because the fear and anxiety came back, and here we go again. So that does make sense to me. That actually does make sense. See, she mentioned something else here too. Let me see. Okay, the time to recover. I don't know that has anything to do with the kinds of symptoms we have. I don't know. But I mean, this response she has to becoming conscious again, pretty common stuff. I don't think it means anything. I don't think it has anything to do with how much longer it will take. But in some ways, like getting a deep sleep, that's a positive. Even though when you become conscious again, you feel terrible. Yeah. So and the MS, I think I've known people with MS. And they don't get all these other symptoms either. I mean, they don't get like the fear and the depression and all that. At least the people that I knew, they don't get the symptoms of benzo withdrawal. They don't get that. So I don't think, we get afraid of MS because we're in withdrawal. MS, all kinds of other neurological disorders that we might have too. But it's because we are in withdrawal that we have that fear. It's not because of what we're fearing, what it might be is true. It's not because it's true. It's because we just fear that it could be true, but it's not. Okay, let me see where I'm at here now. Okay, 18 minutes. Okay, I wanted to do a reading, the last reading I have from the website itself. This is the very last reading. And then I'm not sure what I'll do after we get through all of these readings. I could start reading the book. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how I'll handle that yet. And there's always like success stories too. There's still lots of success stories to read. So, but the problem with the success stories is some of you are like far into withdrawal, many months, and the people in the success stories got well early, and so that's kind of, you feel bad because like, wow, these people got well early, and I'm still at this, or people who are early in the process. You read a success story and people, it took like 2-3 years till they got well, but they finally did. So then the people who are still early thinking like it's going to take me that long. So yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. I tried to ignore that as much as possible when I was in withdrawal, and just take away from it. Well, they got well. When they got well was irrelevant. They got well. They didn't think they were going to get well, but they did. So anyway, I want to do a reading here. Okay, I'm at 19 minutes. Okay, the holidays and new ways. Okay, I wrote this November 26, 2015, and I actually remember this holiday quite well. This was about 2 years ago, close to 2 years ago. Okay, as I sit here on Thanksgiving morning in my son's living room watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Eli, my grandson, I am thinking of past Thanksgivings and this past year. My thoughts and feelings are very mixed. My father-in-law passed away this past year. My single son bought his house. The family tradition for over 30 years has been to have Thanksgiving dinner in this house. My son being a sentimental sort, as I pretty much am too, has chosen to continue that tradition. So here we are this morning. The turkey is in the oven, and my son and daughter are on their way to run a 5K race. The Turkey Trot, it's called. It's another tradition. I am the babysitter. The four of us spent the night here, no doubt the first year of a new tradition. And we did it last year too, so I don't know if we'll do it this year because my son has a girlfriend now. I don't know. I don't know if she'll stay overnight, or it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I kind of like to continue it, but anyway, although I look back on many of the past Thanksgiving days with fondness and a sense of contentment, the ones I remember with the most exactness and poignancy have been those that were the most painful. There were 3 of them, 2009, 2010, and 2011, my benzo withdrawal years. On Thanksgiving 2009, I had been in post-acute withdrawal for 1 month from 40 years of alcohol abuse. At the time I didn't know it, but I was also in tolerance withdrawal from 12 years of Klonopin use. I was suffering horribly with anxiety, fear, and depression, and had no clue what was happening to me. I thought I was going insane. Nonetheless, I was in this house on that day and managed to live through it appearing relatively normal to the rest of the family. The remaining holiday season was absolutely horrid and increasingly worse. Okay, shortly after it ended, I found myself in the psychiatric hospital for a 3-week stay under suicide watch. I was certain that Thanksgiving 2010 and the following holiday season would be much better. How could it possibly be worse? That Thanksgiving day, I had been off the Klonopin for 3 months. Mentally, I was suffering horribly with severe acute anxiety, dread, and not wanting to even be alive. The derealization was intense. I recall 2 specific things about that day. The first had to do with my father-in-law's television. He had 4 separate remotes for various components of his entertainment center. Somehow during the week, he had done something to get them all messed up. I was asked to straighten it out somehow. I was essentially brain dead, but gave it a shot. I had one huge panic attack while I tried to convince my brain to re-enter functionality and allow me to think. I came pretty close to succeeding. No one could tell I was consumed with terror except me. The second thing I recall is that I was asked to say grace at the Thanksgiving dinner. Again, I was able to perform. It's amazing how we can appear normal to those around us while we are dying inside. Obviously, Thanksgiving 2010 was not an improvement over 2009. Then came the holiday season of 2011. At the time, I had been sober for 2 years and off the Klonopin for about 14 months. I was not well yet, but I was beginning to feel better, enough so that I was able to do a little shopping by myself and drink some coffee, something I had given up for 2 years. I knew I was going to be well, finally. For me, as is true for maybe everyone in benzo withdrawal, the holidays took my low even lower when I was ill. We know we should be especially happy during that time of year, but we can't lovingly persuade or coerce our brains to allow us to be happy. So we are even more depressed, lonely, even with people all around us, and drenched with feelings of hopelessness. I completely understand that. I remember it so well. As I look back on the 2 really dreadful holiday seasons of my withdrawal, I can see some positive things. The first one is that even though we feel absolutely horrible during withdrawal and believe that we must have lost our mental capacity to think and function, we actually have not. We feel like the slate has been erased clean and that we will have to start over and relearn everything when we are well. That is not the case at all. We are simply unable to readily access our capabilities as we once did. It's like they are locked away in some area of our brain, but we don't have the key, or we have a key that opens the lock, but the door only opens a crack, allowing us to peek inside from time to time and momentarily touch them. The other positive realization is that we are very different on this side of withdrawal in several good ways. Prior to withdrawal, if my father-in-law had passed away, the atmosphere in his house, now my son's house, would be very heavy and sad. He was a man who lived life and enjoyed it as much as he could. The absence of his energy would have made the day almost morose. But somehow his energy has been transferred to me. I am always looking for the next good thing while enjoying the present. He never dwelt on past difficulties or miseries. I view past troubles and pains simply as stepping stones that have gotten me to where I am now, a really good place mentally and emotionally. Benzo withdrawal changed me so profoundly that I give positive energy to the rest of the family and many friends. I know the agony of withdrawal is especially bad during the holiday season, so much so that you probably would like to completely skip from October directly to January. I could hardly bear the thought of the holidays when I was ill. It filled me with dread. Once you are through withdrawal and well again, the holidays take on a brand new meaning and create amazing emotions so intensely good that they are indescribable. It's almost like experiencing them for the very first time. It's much like being a child again. Joyful wonder. Happy Thanksgiving. And then at the very end, good morning, starshine, the earth says hello, which is from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's Willy Wonka. I remember this particular, this was 2 years ago almost. I remember that night and that whole experience and how I felt really good. And it was, Eli was there and we watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was great. But 2009 and 2010, those holiday seasons were absolutely horrid. In 2009, I had been off the booze for, a little over a month to 2 months. I remember, I think it was before the Thanksgiving dinner, my daughter and I took a walk around there in that general area. And I was just moaning and complaining to her and whining and telling her that I felt like I was going insane. And I wasn't even off the Klonopin yet. I had no idea that the Klonopin was even part of the problem. Very, very bad year. The following year was not any better. I had been off for about 3 months, 2 to 3 months the following year, 2010. Misery, just miserable. And I remember, the remote control of my father's entertainment system. He had like 4 remotes, and they were all, he had it wired in a very strange way, his system, and I couldn't figure it out on my own. My son-in-law came in a little bit later and was trying to explain some things to me, and then we did actually get it going and hook, like how the remotes hook up right in that. But panic attack, one huge panic attack trying to do that. But my brain, in withdrawal, our brain still, it's capable of functioning. All of our abilities and talents are still there. They really, really are. But accessing them is almost impossible. It's so very, very difficult. So much so that it causes even increased anxiety. Let me see. My father was my father-in-law was a very positive man. Loved life. He retired. He loved to golf and play tennis. Go for long walks. Always looking for good stuff. Always. He lived life to enjoy it. When I spoke at his funeral, I mentioned that I did a little eulogy, and I said, he was someone who lived life and knew that we're supposed to enjoy life while we're here on earth. So he was that kind of person. And I know if I had not been well that year after he had passed, it would have been a very morose gathering there at that house. But I was well, and it's almost like his energy transferred to me. Like the next good thing, positive, like joke around, laugh, have fun, enjoy each other's company. Which is really weird because I never was quite that way. I was always very shy and did not speak much, but that has changed a great deal. That has changed a great deal. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing for me, and I think for others in our family. You see what else here. The day that I wrote this, that Thanksgiving, I remember my daughter and son went on, it's called the Turkey Trot. It's in Harrisburg, and I think it's in New Cumberland, across the river from Harrisburg. It's a 5K run or walk. They go to that. It's real early in the morning, Thanksgiving morning. I was there with Eli, and they were leaving. It was real early. I'm kind of like in another world. I'm still kind of like unconscious almost. I'm still like really out of it. And there's a Dunkin' Donuts up the street from there. I thought, well, I'm going to go up before they leave and get some coffee. So I go up there. I think I I didn't walk. I took the car. It's only like a minute from there. And I go up and I go inside, and I wanted a cup of coffee, a large cup of coffee. So I sort of ordered. I think I mumbled or something. And then the girl that was in there, young lady, said, "So you want?" And there was Joe, and I thought, "Yeah, Joe, coffee. That's it." So I said, "Yeah." So I go over to the counter. She has it there. Took a while to get. I go over to the counter, and she puts this big box in front of me and says that'll be like $20 and something. And I'm thinking like, well, it doesn't look like a cup of coffee, and that's pretty expensive. So what I got was a box of Joe, I think is what it's called, a Dunkin' Donuts, and I looked at it, I thought, okay, I could use some coffee. So I took it, I took it back to the house, and it had like 20, I don't know, it had a lot of cups of coffee. I drank most of it myself, but people came like later in the morning and drank some, but I drank the most of it, and I think we actually did have to throw some of it away, but I have to remember, not, I think last year that didn't, was that, last year that didn't happen. I think my daughter went up and got the coffee because she didn't want me to do that again. So this year I will know. I will be absolutely certain not to say I want a large cup of coffee. I don't want a box. So yeah, that happened. That sometimes happens to me. Like I'll order something and not really think too much about what I ordered, and then I actually ordered. They thought I said something else, or they give me something else, and I just kind of scratch my head like, oh, okay, I guess I can deal with that. So that was pretty funny that year. It seems like every year we have a get together over something. Like something funny happens. It's for us to remember through the year so that when we get to that point next year, we can laugh at it again. And we do. We laugh a lot now. Even when I was, there's always been like this sense of humor in our family among certain of us. My son and daughter and I, we kind of have a special relationship. Like sense of humor. We're all a little bit off the wall in some ways. Especially, I'm probably more off the wall than the rest of the people in the family. So they kind of take their cue from me, and when I do something stupid, I don't really get too upset. I just kind of like, hey, that's how I am. We all know that. So anyway, it's all good. Yeah, so Thanksgiving. It's not Thanksgiving yet here, but will be soon. Holiday season coming up here. Tomorrow's the beginning of October, and yeah, I know it's hard when you're coming into the holidays, but one of these holiday seasons, you're going to be good, and it's extra good. Once you're well, it is absolutely extra good. When the health returns and the wellness, and like you're just this new person, and life is good, and you can finally enjoy it again after all of the many months of like not being able to have pleasure in anything, being afraid all the time, being depressed. It's like rejoining the human race again. In fact, in many ways, we are the ones who are leading because we're so happy, joyous, and free, and other people look at us and just kind of shake their head. That's the way it's been for me. People just look at me, and sometimes they expect me, I think they almost blame me, like I don't get upset about certain things, and they think, well, I should, that I'm maybe not taking anything seriously, but that's not true. I just don't. I've been through something that was so horrendous that like this is just like nothing. This is nothing to get upset about. Like this will work out, whatever it is. If you can get through benzo withdrawal or withdrawal from other psych drugs, anything else will work out. It's a given almost. So anyway, that's what I got here on Saturday afternoon, 1:30. I'll let you go. Hope you're having a good Saturday. I know weekends sometimes are tough, but you are getting well. Every day, you're one day closer to wellness today than you were yesterday when I was sitting here talking to you. So that's what you have to remember. I am healing. I am healing. I am healing. That's important because it's true. It is a truth. It was the one truth I knew in my withdrawal. I didn't know a lot of other truths, but that one I did know. My brain is figuring this out. It's gonna get it together, and hopefully I'm gonna start feeling good here one of these days. So and you'll start feeling good too. You really will. And I know a lot of you have gone longer than I did, and it's hard to maybe fathom, but it will happen. It just takes time. You're gonna get there. So as always, I'm right here, and I will be right here. Bye bye.